Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast Network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
Hello there, and welcome on the Think Lab Growth Mindset podcast. I'm Sophie Champagne, your host, and I will be interviewing inspiring entrepreneurs from our community. We will go through their journey, successes and failures, and concrete advice. In today's episode, I will be interviewing Tom Welsby from ResVu, and we will be talking about how to make product strategic decisions at early stage. Hi Tom. That's great to have you on the podcast. You are the co-founder and managing director at ResVu, a platform creating cohesion and facilitating communication and engagement for residential communities. Did I explain it correctly?
You've done well.
Yeah?
Thank you.
Cool. Can you just explain how it works briefly?
Yeah, sure. Look, thank you for having me. ResVu, at the end of the day, is a communication, engagement and facilities management software business. Mm-hmm. So we have three primary platforms. Community Link is our resident engagement platform. So Community Link focuses on the connectivity between residents themselves, the connectivity with the local economy, and connectivity with key stakeholders such as management within the residential buildings that they live. We then have another product called Community Local. Community Local supports the Community Link resident users. And it is a specific platform built for local businesses to promote products and services to the residents within a 5-kilometre radius of their building, or of their business, I should say. So the big primary point behind Community Local was focusing on supporting local business. You won't see the commercial advertisers in there. You will see local businesses that are there to connect with residents in their local area on a day-to-day basis, as it is anyway. So really trying to enhance that relationship and provide the extra benefit and engagement that the residents and the businesses need. We then have our facility management system. That's called FM Link. And FM Link is built specifically for the larger, more complex sites. FM Link's built in two varying functions. The basic function, if you want to call it that, is the FM Link Inspector platform. That was built specifically for inspections of common areas and major structures of sites, so they can provide better reporting for decision makers. So management committees, boards, and things like that of those buildings can understand the status of the maintenance of that site on a regular basis. If the building needs, you can upgrade that part of the platform to our FM Link's full system, which is both obviously including the inspection system, but also including contractor registers, key registers, work order issuing, quote issuing, asset registers, defect management, and really enhancing that operational efficiency of the site. So I guess bringing them all together, you take your large residential sites, whether it be retirement, whether it be residential, bringing all of those together is about building a community. Yeah. Both making the community safer, more compliant, but also enhancing the engagement with both internal and external.
If we come back to the second platform, the one for the local community, more globally, let's say, with some local shops.
Yep.
You have kind of a vision to have an impact on tomorrow.
Correct.
And focus on developing local businesses.
Yeah. So Community Local, as I said, in particular, my background was 10 years in building management. So I was able to see a lot of the challenges that residents were having with what was quite a rapid shift of moving into the city. The transition from living in larger living spaces, whether it be a long way away from the city or a short distance, to proper city living. The buildings are larger now. They offer more facilities, so the residents have a better lifestyle to move into now than what might have been the case 10, 15, 20 years ago. Not that it wasn't there, but it's certainly become a lot more livable now in the city. So one of the one of the pains that we saw early on in the piece as a building manager was that residents were disconnected with their local economy.
Yeah.
It was always easy to get to the shops, but by living in their area, there's businesses that have purchased or leased that bricks and mortar to interact with those residents and with that local community. And I used to see a huge amount of A4 flyers left on top of letterboxes or falling out of letterboxes that got wet and got ugly, and it actually detracted away from the business that was doing it. And they were doing it for the right concept, but the residents weren't seeing it in that respect. So we developed Community Local to give them a really easy, dynamic, but direct contact with those residents. The residents have the full ability to select their preferences on what type of products and services they would like to see, but ultimately it is about what is in their area that they can leverage without having to catch public transport, without having to drive or get in their car. It's about where can I walk, who can I engage with, and who can I do it consistently with to enhance the community of that area.
And avoid intermediaries and...
Correct. Absolutely correct. It is built to enhance that relationship, that local area relationship. Residents, as much as they need safety and security in their own home, they also need convenience. Yeah. And that's where that's come in.
Great. Awesome. I would like to come back now on your entrepreneur journey. Can you explain when you start the company and how did the idea come to your mind?
Yeah, sure. So I guess I started my own body corporate management company about 8 years ago. It was. So prior to that, I had some experience in building management, started my own body corporate management company. And from that point, my job was to strictly manage buildings and apartment buildings in particular, some hotels, and I had about 80 that I managed on a day-to-day basis, which is made up of about 2,000 owners. And through that, there's a lot of pain in terms of multifacets. In fact, there's many startups out there that are solving so many issues in that property sector as a whole, and it's easy to see when you're in that position as well, managing these sites. So the biggest problem I saw in particular as a body corporate manager was communication within a building.
Okay.
And I recognized this about 5 years ago. I could not believe that it took near 24 hours to get an A4 piece of paper up in a lift shaft just to advise everyone that the water was off, 12 hours ago. So it started there. The next big problem that came with the shift in, or I should say the increase in the size of buildings and the shift in livability was that there was a lot more tenants moving into buildings than owners. There was a lot more investors out there that were purchasing properties off the plan, and tenants were moving into them. And as a body corporate manager, legislatively, my job was to only manage owners. But when it comes to servicing a building and maintaining the structure of that building, and also implementing preventative maintenance plans, so it's the same building and worth more from a valuation point of view in 10 years' time, you need to look after everyone in it as well. And in a lot of cases, that was 60% of those people were tenants. So we had no way to manage them. We relied on the real estate agent giving us their information, which at no fault of the real estate agents was few and far between. And we needed a better way to communicate with them. They were part of the community, so it should have been easy to gather their information. So we developed Community Link. And very early on the piece, Community Link's first product was a digital notice board.
Okay.
So it was a TV screen run by a computer on site that I could communicate with remotely.
On each level, for example, of the building?
Yeah, correct. It would show tenants within the building. I could send alerts to it, so it would flash red, for instance, if an urgent item or event had happened within the building. I could write my own notices, so I didn't have to, for instance, create something in Word, save it as PDF. I could create it within the system, so it would make a really streamlined process for warning about window cleaning in a few weeks' time, or the power outage planned, or anything you can think of when it comes to that preventative maintenance. As I said, the alerts that I could issue were more the reactive type stuff. Something I didn't know was going to happen, I could at least get straight to that notice board and people knew where to go. Because I had nowhere to send them all letters. That was literally the only other way to do it. I had owners' emails addresses with me, but only about 50% of those. But most of them lived off site, so it didn't really concern them. So there was a big disconnect. So we started with the digital notice board, and that was received really well. We put that in one of, at the time, Adelaide's largest apartment building, and it sort of rolled on from there. We then moved into developing a mobile app for residents, so they could register themselves and become part of the community in that facet and access their own documents, report maintenance, and once again, to my earlier point, connect with the local community. So that was up until about 2 years ago. We're at that level. I then entered the Australian E-Challenge through the Adelaide University. It was received really, really well. We actually ended up winning that in 2017. For us, that was a validation that, this originally was just a product of mine that I just wanted to use within my own portfolio. As I started to communicate with more people in the industry, I started to understand a little bit more about it being a common need. So as I said, entered the E-Challenge, we ended up taking out, which was fantastic. With that came our residency at the Think Lab as well in Adelaide, corner of Pulteney Street and North Terrace, and that just gave us this huge leg up. And the leg up came predominantly from having a local and easily accessible office. I mean, it's right in the heart of the city. So for us, it allowed us to really easily communicate with our customers and potential customers. But it also gave us high quality access to mentors. So I very quickly was able to communicate with 2 or 3 of Adelaide's, in fact, one was an interstate mentor that I was connected with almost within a couple of weeks.
From the network of Think Lab?
Absolutely, absolutely from the network of the Think Lab. That really gave me clarity on my biggest problems. And my biggest problems were how many, should we be developing one product and specializing it? Should we be developing multiple? I'd already got head over heels with developing multiple, so it was sort of about how do I navigate doing that? How do we even cash flow the business? I'm an accountant by trade, but I still needed that assistance from that real life application. The mentors were just unreal with that. So fast forwarding to now, August 2019, we've ironed out our problems. The experience that I've now had over those last couple of years has got us to the points of dealing with some of the world's largest developers, both in Australia and overseas. We have our multiple products functioning really well. They're completely independent if needed. So we're targeting the bottom and the top ends of the markets. We're in multiple different markets now, and we've got new problems now as most startups do as they progress. So. Yeah, but I think a lot of that's been really shaped by the support we've had within the Think Lab. And it's funny how things sort of take shape over if I look at that 5-year journey. So it's a good question.
And basically, in your case, so you had the problem to solve.
Absolutely.
But not really the product, or you didn't know at the beginning. I mean, when you started the E-Challenge, for example, you didn't know exactly which product you will start. So it's not common, right, to have this case?
Yeah. We knew there was a problem. I targeted the communication, but what we were able to do was validate that. And look, thankfully, I had the ability to validate it in the market because I was managing these sites, but actually understand the ways to validate that. And that's what came through a lot of that experience through the E-Challenge. But we did take it to market. It got ripped to pieces, and it was fantastic. I still remember a Mark Zuckerberg quote that I do work by is, if you're not embarrassed by your first product, then you've been working on it too much. And don't get me wrong, we didn't send it out. I mean, we didn't make it detrimental to our business, but we did want to get it out there to just get used. We spent a lot of time building our relationships with our customers to invite them to help us.
Yeah.
It wasn't about, we've got the perfect product for you. It's about, look, we've got to start. We know it can help you with this, but we want it to help you more in all these other areas. And that simple change in mindset for our customers meant that they were willing to help us.
Yeah.
And those customers are still with us now, and they're still helping us now. And, you know, we're really at the point. I mean, customer feedback for us, it is always said how important it is.
Yeah, of course.
And we've really tried to live by that. And if anything now, we have got, you know, over 10,000 mentors almost with our customers because of the ability for them to report that feedback and feel invited to do it. And that community that we've developed around that has really helped us grow too. So,
yeah, that's great because you completely use a lean management strategy, right? By
correct. Yep.
Adjusting
absolutely
like day by day to your
I still run off my lean canvas that I started in the e-challenge. So it's taken a few updates, but it's such a good model to follow. And I'd never seen it. Never heard of Eric Ries and the Lean Startup, which is just an amazing book. I read that within a couple of days, and I don't think I'd actually read a book before that. So maybe To Kill a Mockingbird or something like that in year 7 at school. But, you know, that allowed me, in fact, I'm glad you brought that up, because that was actually the start of me understanding business models. What are your key networks? What are your channels? What are your problems? What are your solutions? And defining ways to actually work around that. So yeah, we still operate off. It's a bit more complex now, but it still is a lean canvas.
What have been your main difficulties in your journey?
The point I raised this very briefly before, but definitely the development of multiple products.
Okay. The development itself or the choice going to one product or multiple products?
Yeah, okay, that's a good one. 5 years ago, when the idea first came about, from that point over the next 2 years, so 3 years ago, the hardest part by a long shot was development. Finding the right people, should they be contractors, should they be part of my team? How do I factor them in? How do I pay for them? How do I get the right people? And that 2 years was spent toying around with the wrong people, spending money where I just didn't need to spend, and making the failures that you're supposed to make. You know, fail hard and fail quickly is one of the actually lean startup quotes that I followed very early on in the piece. And thankfully, we were able to learn from those, fail quickly, and then move on to the next. And I eventually got to the point early 2017 where I'd met Josh Marcus, our now CTO, sorry. If he's listening, that's not a job promotion. But Josh was somebody that had really only toyed with the idea of the development frameworks that we were using, but just had a big heart on him and really wanted to learn. And as I said, fast forwarding now, 2.5 years down the track, he's our CTO. He understands everything that goes on with our company, and it's just so good to see how far he's come. So, but Josh was always a part of the business from early on. He put in the hard yards as well as the rest of the team at that point, and saw the opportunity. And I think if anyone wants to understand a bit more about that, it really comes down to finding someone with the same heart as what you've got, and using their skill sets, using your skill sets, and really collaborating is where I've found to get the best results. So yeah, that was our biggest challenge then. So stepping out of that, not knowing how to develop the platform, to finally being able to develop it when Josh came on board, starting 2017. We started to get something relatively functional just about the time that our first seed investors came on in August 2017. Company was technically founded July 2017. And at that point, we just said, look, let's just get it to market. Let's get some feedback. Took it to the market. Our biggest challenge at that point in time was then taking the feedback and finding the biggest priorities to develop first. Where are we going to make our money, and make our money quickly is going to show us the revenue models we need to follow, and we can build in the additions on top of that. So fast forwarding to now, probably in the last couple of months, the biggest challenge now, thankfully, unfortunately, is meeting the demands of the market. So we've got a really complex system now, which works really well, very low on bugs now, which is great. And it is now meeting the demands of the market in terms of where we should be going. So we've got a huge bed of suggestions, but we've also got a big bed of products. We've got 3 big products that are actually split down into, if anything, 4 or 5 products. We've got our digital notice board structures, we've got lift screens for those, and we've got outdoor 55-inch notice boards. The lift screens are about 21-inch. Then we've got our Community Link software product, we've got our FM Link full product, our FM Link Inspector product, and then we've got Community Local. So it's now about where are we targeting our biggest needs in the development of that. And we could say let's do everything, which would probably require millions of dollars in investment to get the right team around it, or we just keep structuring it in such a way that whether it be our biggest customers or our most highly demanded features are built, and we just keep moving through the motions.
Where are your customers for now? Mainly in Adelaide or in Australia?
No, our biggest customers are interstate now. So we, the biggest, I think, apartment building here in Adelaide's about 320 apartments, whereas, interstate in Queensland's, one of our biggest customers is 1,100 homes. In Melbourne, we've got 3,000, we have buildings in Docklands and South Wharf that are, several hundred. So that's where most of our customers are. Our main focus at the moment is Melbourne, Sydney and Brisbane. And we're just about to convert some sales in Dubai and UK.
Nice.
So, that was our next big move. We only just started on that probably about a month or 2 ago, but thankfully with the software being scalable and easily translatable, they're markets that seem to look at taking it on quite quickly. So we're starting to see that expansion now, which is really good.
Nice.
Yeah, we're a whole new world of challenges. So in a month's time, that will be my response to our current challenge. Will be how do we do all that? So.
All right. If we talk about Adelaide and the startup ecosystem in Adelaide and in Australia more generally, what is your feel about it? Is it a good place to be an entrepreneur, or how do you see it evolving for a few years and in the future?
I'm pumped about the opportunity that Adelaide's given. It's been fantastic. I mean, I've always been Adelaide-based, so understanding the people and where to go and all of that has made it a bit easier, don't get me wrong. But what I'm starting to see a really big shift in is the uptake in entrepreneurship in Australia. It's not the fact that people never had the direction or never had the want to be a part of it. It's actually the support has allowed the uptake to be a little bit more committal and formal. There's a lot more people now throwing everything on the table than what there was even a few years ago.
Okay.
It was, and that's come from support. That's come from a push from the government. It's come from, and look, locally here in Adelaide, it's been fantastic. When you look at the Think Lab, huge in terms of the opportunity that sits in there. If anything, we wouldn't be where we are now if we didn't have the Think Lab because of that. Lot 14's got a huge amount of entrepreneurship being pushed into it as well, and I'm really excited to see where that goes over the coming couple of months, if not years as well. We've got a lot of intrapreneurship happening within businesses around the place. So businesses employing people or commencing departments just to build internal entrepreneurial concepts and ideas. The universities are backing it in more. The government's backing it in more. There's more funding. I think the venture capitalists and the investors are starting to become a little bit more excited. It's just there's a genuine shift from, oh, that's really cool, I want to be a part of that, which I must admit is even how I felt 3 years ago, to, you know what, I can really get in deep on this and I know that I'll be supported. I know there's people around me, and that's a big difference. That's a big difference in terms of the mindset of an entrepreneur. So if Adelaide keeps going the way that it's going, I see no reason why my company couldn't be just like Sweat, Toby Pearce and Kayla at Seni's, who are just up the road on Fullerton Road with a $400 million business, with 60% of their customers in the US, and they're still here in Adelaide. Glen Osmond Road, sorry.
Right.
that's power there. And I know Toby gets asked that question a lot. That's awesome to see that. And from a company, from our perspective, we're very similar in the sense that, yes, our biggest markets are outside of Adelaide. It's just, that's the way it is. We're apartment building based and residential based. It's just how it is. But for our business to be here means we've got lower overheads. We've got a better community that's based around what we've built so far. And we've got an immediate contact with the rest of the world. Doesn't matter where we are. The technology in today's world allows us to connect with anyone. It's just the time zones that kill you. It's just everything else allows you to do that so easily. So I am really excited to see that shift over the last 12 months. It's been really pronounced in the way that people's mindsets have changed, and that only comes from the confidence around them. As an entrepreneur, you'll always back yourself in, but it makes it a lot easier when you're confident in everything else around you too.
And confident in the network. So
absolutely.
In Adelaide,
exactly. If there's one person around you that's confident, it's not gonna be anywhere near as powerful if there's 100. And when you look at communities like the Think Lab, where everyone sitting in there is confident in what they're doing, whether they're 5 years away from getting to market or they're been in there for a few years, it's the confidence they're supported, and that's the big difference when it comes to chasing your entrepreneurial dream. Is you've got to have belief in yourself, but you've got to have people around you too. So that's the big shift that I've seen, which is good.
Right. Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you very much, Tom.
No worries. Thank you, Sophie.
Thank you so much for listening to the Think Lab Growth Mindset podcast. You will find in the description some details about my invitee contacts, links, and music jingle production. Please share this episode and send me your feedback. That's very important to me. Catch up soon for a new episode.
Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast. Ozcast. Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.